October 14th is New Year for me. Why? It's Joy's birthday. If you don't know that story, you should hear it. It will blow your mind.
Welcome to the show. Tired of the hype about living the dream? It's time for truth. This is the place for tools, power, and real talk so you can create the life you dream and deserve. Your ultimate life. Subscribe, share, create. You have infinite power.
October 14th is the most precious day on the calendar for me. Christmas is beautiful, and I'm very devoted to Jesus and Christianity and all that sort of thing. But October 14th is Joy's birthday, and it marks the birthday of the angel that's in my life. There's nothing that I can do without her. She is amazing. She walks on water. She runs our contractor. She runs a publishing company. And more importantly, she helped me more than anything on my path to recovery. I'm not going to tell the whole story here, but if you want to read about it, it's in a book. You know, I've written like 21, 22 books. This one's called Tightrope of Depression, My Journey from Darkness, Despair, and Death to Light, Love, and Life. And it talks about how and when she came into my life in 2007, the miracle. It was absolutely a divine miracle. Things happened that can't be explained by normal stuff and all that sort of, weird kind of things. And it was beautiful and it was fantastic. And she's precious. So that's why October 14th is New Year's to me. But here's what we're going to do. It's also, because it's my New Year, it's the day that I give accountability. So we just had an episode with Joy on it that celebrated that birthday. But this episode is, double down. We're doubling down here. Victory lap and double down is what I called this one. And here's the reason. Last year, and it's last year for me because this is after the 14th, right? Last year for me, I declared that I was going to reach 300 million people. Now, let's talk about that because people always ask, how are you going to flip and reach 300 million? And then the next question right behind that is, how are you going to know you reached 300 million? Well, let's get clear. 4 years ago, I decided, and I don't remember all the circumstances of that decision. I decided I need to reach 10 million people with a message. And the message is WIPOS, worth, identity, possibility, ownership, and sovereignty, WIPOS. And it forms the framework of our ability to create anything we want. Like, I talk about this all the time, your ultimate life, and I say, you can have your ultimate life. And we have guests on here that talk about how they create their own lives. And I use the words purpose, prosperity, and joy as the bedrock of achieving an ultimate life. So if you or I, we live every day with a purpose that guides our lives, and we have prosperity in cash, in relationships, in love, in health, and joy, which is way deeper than happiness. If we have purpose, prosperity, and joy, then for me, that's the ultimate life. Now, when I ask people what theirs is, they'll use words like freedom, which is a good word. They'll use words like money, or nobody has any call on my time, or all those kinds of things. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. Everybody's going to define the ultimate life the way they do. But here's what I notice. The guests that I have on here, without exception, all have a yearning to serve. Why do we care? Well, it's part of our nature. When we have something, like we overcome a problem or a challenge, as we do that, there arises in us the yearning to serve, to help others avoid, to minimize the suffering, to minimize the pain, to get through things quicker than we did. And that is the basis of the coaching profession. It is the basis of all kinds of books and programs that are created. Yeah, people want to get paid, and they should, for their knowledge, their experience, their hard knocks that save me falling on my face a few times. I'll pay for that. Time compression, where I can learn something in a year that took someone else 10 or 20 years to learn. I do pay for that. We all do. So anyway, my full statement is triple M, message, method, mastery. The message is you create the life you want. And even if your life sucks right now, or you think it does, you created that. And you can get as mad at me as you want and slam your fist in denial, but you did. And let's just go right to the core of it. If I think my life sucks, I think my life sucks. There's no objective externality that says my life sucks. It is my opinion and choice to live in the energy of a sucky life. I can think my life's the most beautiful thing in the world and not change a thing. That's a choice I make. So that's a real obvious way we create our lives. And there's way more than that, because we now know from absolute laboratory scientific evidence that when we think or when we yearn, it puts out energy into the energetic field, right? An easy way to say that or see that is if you're in a room and your back is to the door and someone walks in and they're angry, you can feel that. Even if they don't make any noise, there's something about the energy. And when you're with someone, even if you're not seeing their face, and I say that because people say, well, micro expressions and blah, 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 and they make all kinds of excuses trying to get it out of the realm of things we don't understand yet because people are afraid of that. Well, stuff we don't understand communicates. We don't understand how quantum entanglement works, which means particles that are separated really far affect each other even greater than the speed of light. So everything's connected, literally, like literally. So what does this have to do with my message? Well, the message is this. If you knew to the core of your soul that you could create any life you want, you'd act differently. Because most of the time we act like we don't have that control, like we're at the mercy of other things. If it rains, I'm at the mercy of the sky to get wet. Yeah. And I can create a good thing or a bad thing out of that. I love getting wet. I'm going to dance and sing in the rain, like the old musical, Singing in the Rain. I could do that, or I can be mad that it's going to ruin my suede shoes or whatever. So my choice about how to experience the world, I don't control the weather. I don't control the temperature of that it's hot in Phoenix or cold in Edmonton. I don't control that, but I can control how I experience that. And that is the fundamental substance of our life, is how we experience things. Okay? All right. So the reason I'm saying victory lap and double down is this. 4 years ago, I decided I needed to reach 10 million people. Message, method, mastery. The message is you create your life, and WIPOS. Your worth is infinite. Your identity is divine. Your possibilities are without limit. Your ownership is supreme. You own your life, and you are the sovereign decision maker in your life. If you own those truths, you're already way ahead in this process of creating life. Purpose, prosperity, which includes cash, and joy. So I decided I wanted to reach 10 million people with that message. But the second M is method. So it's one thing for me or anybody to sit here and tell you, you can create the life you want. That's like the law of attraction people saying, all you got to do is sit and think, and crap shows up on the door. And we all know it doesn't. Okay? So there's a method, message, method, mastery. And the method in law of attraction kind of things is the action part. Taking aligned action that's aligned with your intention. And I'm not going to talk about law of attraction here, but it's the same principle. So the method is the processes that I've developed. I mean, I've written 22 books. I have given the method for creating your life and for achieving anything you want. In all the coaching that I do with every client, it's the same thing as is in the books. It's just that we all know it's way easier when we have someone with us, like someone going to the gym with us or whatever, to keep our goals, to keep our commitments, to keep accountable, that sort of thing. It's just a lot easier when we have that. So one of the fun functions of coaching is accountability. There's a lot more to it than that. And the explosion of AI on the coaching scene is powerful evidence of that. AI writes so well and so powerfully, it can evoke an emotional response. You can ask AI a question, it can come back with an empowering answer and touch you emotionally. It certainly has me. So coaching is going to change a lot over the years, and I've started a third episode a week on Thursdays. So normally we were Tuesday and Friday, We've started now in September. Today, as I'm recording this, September 25th, is the first Thursday episode, and I'm going to put a coaches only episode out every Thursday, and it's going to have 2 guests each week, so there'll be 3 of us on there, except today's was a solo introducing that. But the coaches only every Thursday is going to be discussing AI and how it affects coaching, whether or not the particular guests I have are using it, how they're using it, and most importantly, at least for me, is how is the coaching industry going to change, and how do we as coaches need to respond to that? Because my thesis is by Christmas of 26, 95% of coaches won't be making a living, and I define a living as $100K US. But it's arbitrary. But most won't be making that and won't be able to. And what are we going to do about that? And so the book I have, Coaching and the Rise of AI, will be out very quickly and in the next couple of weeks. By the time you see this, maybe it's already published. But it's not just talking about what's happening. Oh dear, the tsunami's coming. But it's talking about what do we do about it? What does the new coach have to look like to transcend AI, to be above, to be able to use it as a tool, but be above that? All right, anyway. Message and method is the products, services, music, everything that I've created over the last 18 years to help you take control of your life and create purpose, prosperity, and joy. Build your business, create cash, be happy, deeply joyful. That's all available to you, but you have to do the work. It's like going to the gym and looking at videos and expecting to be able to compete in the Olympics. You can't do that. You have to do the work. Well, anything's like that. So message, method, and then mastery is the outcome of continued application. So I decided I'm going to reach, 4 years ago, 10 million people with that process. And I thought, how am I going to do that? Well, I'd already started the podcast, and I started going on other people's shows. And now, over the years, 4 years, I think I've been on more than 700 shows of others, and I have lots more that are coming. And I say yes, always, and if the show or the content is aligned, in order to encourage people. I'm in the people encouragement business. I'm in the slap you and wake you up business. I'm in the remind you you're divine business. I'm in the business of total transformation to where we step into, and I know that's cliche, but where we act, where we own ownership and sovereignty, our right to have purpose, prosperity, and joy, because you have that right. Nobody can keep you from it. Nobody's going to do it for you either because nobody's coming. So this starts the next year, and I haven't set a new number yet. 300 million was last year, and we've got to add. People ask all the time how I measure that, and I'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, 4 years ago it was 10, and at the end of that year, nearly in September, I was on a show with some folks, and there were 2 guys that were hosting that, and at the end of that, it was an hour, roughly. At the end of that time, both the hosts were emotional, like visibly emotional. And one of them said to me, you need a bigger number. You need a bigger number. Kind of like that, right? And I said, why? And he said, well, I've been here with you for an hour, and you've changed my life. And I'm going to talk to at least 1,000 people this week, so you need a bigger number. So that got me thinking. And as that year closed in October of that year, I thought, okay. And I set a goal of 50 million for the next year. So, and I got on lots of social media, and I did tons of lives called Road to 50 Million. And and I also went on other people's shows, and I was on LA Talk Radio, which is a weekly live show on Tuesday afternoons, 4 p.m. Pacific. You ought to look it up, latalkradio.com. It's also called Your Ultimate Life. And it turned out that year, the best we could tell in adding up audiences and so forth, we reached about 75 million. So I was really excited. And it was principally on the back of what was one show that I was on that the host told me had gone quasi-viral and had 40 million views. Well, that was a big chunk of my 50, right? And so we added up other things the best we could, and we figured we got to about 70 or 75. So then the year after that, I set the goal at 250 million. And we continued, efforts to do that. And I don't think I put every single effort I could. And I don't think we made that year. I think we did a little better than the year before, maybe 125. And so then The next year, which is this year that just finished, we moved it up a little to 300 million. So that's the answer of how we got to the number. How we measure that, I never expected to get 50 or 100 or 300 million emails that say, you changed my life. But here's what we do. We measure podcast reach. We measure the reaches of all the other shows that I've been on. And as I mentioned, there's hundreds. I've written 20 books. We look at book sales and their ripple effect. We look at all the places I speak. Sometimes I speak 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 times a month at different summits and those kinds of things to encourage, to lift, to bless. I was just on somebody's show the other day, and it was about health, both physical and mental and emotional health. And, there's another one, and they have quite a large podcast. So if you add all those up as best we can, then we make an estimate of what we've reached. It is far more important for me to put the number out there and then say to myself and act, I'm doing everything I can and that comes in front of me to reach that many people, to tell them I love them, to tell them they're worthwhile, to tell you you're worthwhile, to tell you your worth is infinite and your identity is divine because you came from the same God I did, and your possibility is without limit and ownership and sovereignty. And here's the truth. You and I live far below our potential. Now, there's probably a time you can remember where you gave everything you had for a particular project, and it either worked or it didn't work, but you felt satisfied in that you did everything you could. Most of the time, we don't live there. We don't live all in. And I can tell you that living all in is a joyful, glorious, flipping place to live. Even when crap hits the fan, even when stuff doesn't work, even when you get bashed down, choosing all in as your life force, as your lifestyle, as your stance in the world is so much fun, because then you never have to ask, what if? What if I'd tried harder? What if I'd started earlier? So for me, the 300 million for the year we just finished wasn't a vanity metric. It wasn't something for me to run around saying, I'm reaching 300 million people, blah, blah, blah. It was an aspirational goal. It was a vow. So today's my victory lap. We did it. I don't know what the exact number is. I'll never know the exact number. And I'm not done with my best estimate, which I'll do over the next month or so. And I'll figure out about how we did. And I'm doubling down. Now, doubling down for me doesn't mean I'm going to move it to 600 million. I'm not. Here's the vow right now. Instead of just jacking the number up and up and up, I'm going to do the best I can to figure out what it was. But here is my commitment this year. This is about nurturing and growth. So I am all in this year, every day, first breath to last, about nurturing and growth. Every person that I can reach with a message of your own divinity, your own capability, and your own possibility, I'm here to nurture you, to encourage you, to love you, like look you in the eyes and say, I love you. I don't need your permission. I don't care where you are or what you've been or what you've done or, any of that stuff. Love is not dependent on that. That's one of the things I've had to learn, because all my life I was taught violently that love was conditional and love was only this, that, and the other, only if you did this or, behaved a certain way. And that's not true. I mean, we see all over the world, to our great pain, people hate others without knowing them. They hate something they said or the idea of them or their ethnicity or their race or their religion or their politics or whatever. And then this vitriolic hatred spews out all over the place, sometimes in rhetoric and posts and sometimes in trolling and sometimes in violence and hate and pain and death. That is monstrous. Well, if we can hate to that degree without knowing someone, we can certainly love. And love is gonna win. End of story. So I love you, and there's not a thing you can do about it. And my love is bigger than any hate or negativity or apathy or anything you can bring to the party. There's nothing you can do to make me not love you. I get to choose that. Isn't that fun? what I've noticed is taking that stance in my PTAC, my personal document, one of the statements is, I am love, pouring over your soul like warm sunshine, creating miracles in the moment. I live in a land of miracles. I literally, and I mean this honestly, I experience them every day. Unexpected, unexplainable things that turn to my benefit, turn to my opportunity, turn to growth. And it's not because I'm special, because I'm not. If you know the history and you read the book Tightrope of Depression, which I referred to earlier, and the miracle of joy coming into my life in 2007, and the miracle of ending the addictions that I had and starting on a path of complete life overhaul. If you've read that, then you know that I'm nobody special. I'm simply somebody who wouldn't quit, who made the choice to change, who turned around when life was black and dark and suicide had already been attempted and said, I'm going forward no matter what. I'm done with that story. I'm done with that excuse. I'm done with that shambles of a life. Now, there's lots of stuff to clean up if you've had a difficulty. Maybe it's bankruptcy, and so there's some credit problems for some period of time, or maybe you've had a divorce or an illness or whatever, and so there's stuff to clean up. You know, the leftovers of my failings still echo through my life. I have 10 beautiful children that I love dearly and deeply, and some of them won't talk to me still. So estranged, I guess, would be the word. But I love them furiously, and I'm holding nothing except open arms and willingness. And I've done all that I can in my life to fix it and be better and do good. But I have to recognize, as we all do, that it takes two to create a relationship. It takes two to tango, so to speak. But I'm open and ready. And I do and will do whatever I need to do to create love, forgiveness, and power. My invitation for you is to do the same. So when I say the year is to double down, the name that I gave it, what did I say? Victory lap and double down. The victory lap is simple. I did everything I could to reach 300 million. I went on every show I could go on that made sense. I spoke every place. I did all these episodes, and I wrote more books, and I did more coaching, and I did everything that I knew how to do to create that outcome. And we'll see where the numbers land later. So that's the victory lap. And the doubling down, like I said, I'm not doubling the number again. I'm leaving it where it is. So 300 million is going to be the same. But this year is about nurturing and growth. Nurturing and growth. So the message that was last year is WIPOS, your worth, infinite, your identity, a child of God, however you want to frame that. Possibility, WIPOS, right? Your possibility is limitless. Because you have divine DNA, you can create whatever you want. You were born to overcome challenges and to be a creator. Ownership is the O, and that's kind of fun because we love blaming others. I can't because, let me point outside of us, the weather, the government, spouse, kids, illness, whatever, and it's all bullshit. You can create what you want no matter what happens. And I'm letting that sink in on purpose. And P or S, WIPOS, is sovereignty. You're the king, you're the queen. You're in charge. You're the emperor, the empress. Like, you own this. And if you want to abdicate it and give it away, you can. And then you can blame it on whatever you want, and it's still yours. You can't give away ownership of your life. You can let other people make decisions, but you decided that. So that's that message was what we were doing last year. And this year, the message hasn't changed, but now I'm focused more on the method. So let's pretend you own the idea that you can create whatever you want. Let's pretend, I'm not saying it's, maybe you do. So I won't say pretend. Let's go down that road. Let's go down the road of fierce life ownership. Because at one point or another, most of us live in the land of suck. And the land of suck is characterized by a victim mindset. It's characterized by an addiction to mediocrity, We just settle, right? And so when you think about a victim mindset, it's not my fault, and look what the world or somebody did to me, an addiction to mediocrity, a companion phrase is learned helplessness, where we choose to allow ourselves to learn, I'm helpless, I can't fix it, it's beyond my whatever. None of those are true. The message was that there is another place to live that's beautiful, not a swamp, but a beautiful meadow. And that meadow has a name too, and that's called fierce life ownership. It's called radical excellence, and it's called a passion to serve. Now, I know right now that you've been at a time where you felt radically excellent, where you felt a passion to serve, and where you fiercely owned your own destiny in life. Well, you can have that every day. I know because I do. I know because I help people get there. But you don't fall up that mountain, right? We have to climb mountains. So we don't fall up there. And step one, this was interesting because this was asked yesterday. Okay, when you're trying to help people do this, what's step one? Step one's always the same. Step one is an absolute bulletproof commitment that you're climbing this mountain. You're making this change in your life no matter what. You're doing it because you can, because you said so, because you own your life. You're going to do this. That bulletproof commitment is always and always will be the bedrock, because without that, we get wishy-washy, we get discouraged, we give up, we quit, and then we end up treating it like a New Year's resolution to go to the gym. By the second week, we can't even remember where the gym was. So a bulletproof commitment means no matter what, I am creating my own life. Now, this is one of the things that is so important about coaching. Coaching is the art and science of helping people keep their commitments. It is the art and science of helping them see a much bigger vision. Because if you or I are in the vision of, and I've been there, I suck, I'm not good enough, I'll never make it, whatever it is for you, then I can't see opportunities. I've got blinders on, and possibilities are all around me, and I'm so focused on my brokenness that I can't see them. So owning the truth of being able to, create anything you want is key. And so the message that we were talking about in all the shows and in all the books and in all the podcast episodes was the message. You can create what you want. You got to do the work. No one's coming to do it for you, and no one can keep you from creating your dream. This year is dedicated to nurturing. So it is starting, the tone of the messages and the podcasts and the shows is going to change, not because the message is different, but the focus is different. So the message is you can create anything you want. You can have whatever you want in life, purpose, prosperity, and joy. That includes wealth. Yes, you can have that. Now, accepting that message is one thing. Acting and doing the things necessary so that it's true for you is another thing. You know that because if there was a time in my life when I was nearly 100 pounds overweight in my 30s. I'd just gotten fat, desk job and not exercise. And I had some young kids and I just made a vow. I'm not going to be the fat dad that can't play with his kids. So I went on a hardcore crusade to lose weight. I did it all the hard way. I went back to martial arts, a dojo that was near the house, and went regularly and worked out, sometimes twice a day, et cetera, et cetera. And over a year, I lost all of that weight and more. I lost 90 pounds. I needed to lose 80. I lost 90. And I needed to gain a little bit back. But at the same time, because I was doing a lot of martial arts, I gained a lot of muscle too. And so I became extremely well. I was in shape really good, cardiovascular stuff. I could run many miles and blah, 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 blah. So that was an example of creating something the hard way. And my help was going to the dojo and working out a lot. And I'm competitive and I love doing that. So that's an example of creating your life. I'm not special. You can have that too. I've made that transition. It was a time in my life when I had financial disasters and declared bankruptcy. I had to recover from that. There was a time in my life 7 years ago when I got an illness and died, flatlined in the ICU. I was in a coma for 17 days, lost 35 pounds, couldn't walk, and had to learn all that again. So I've flatlined there, flatlined financially, flatlined with my health being heavy in my 30s. That was now 30-something years ago because I'll be 70 in December. But I know what it takes to do that. And so the nurturing aspect is, okay, you've heard the message. What are the actions? Now, there's two kinds of things here. One is, maybe three. One is the steps. What are the steps to do anything? Well, finding out the steps to make something happen isn't very hard. Information's free. You can find out how to do anything on the internet. With the rise of AI, expertise is also free and democratized, right? Information, when the internet came, is free and available. Expertise is now free and available. So that isn't the issue. The issue isn't the steps. The issue is creating the will, the accountability framework, getting the coaching, overcoming the stories of defeat and failure in your head. That's the ticket to growth. If I'm fat and I say I need to lose weight, I know I can go to the gym regularly or even do body weight Florex on the floor. And I know if I do that for a while, months, I can lose the weight. In my own case, I did that. So I know that can happen. But that's completely different than having both the courage and the perseverance to take those actions every day. So nurturing, which is what I'm focused on this year with the 300 million, is about messages of encouragement. I often think of coaching as the people encouragement business, because I have a friend, former client, who says often people need encouragement more than they need advice. And I love that saying. His name's Eric, and I love him for saying it. And I don't know if he originated that or not, but I love it. It's fabulous because we do need encouragement more than we need advice. We do. Right? We need that because it's easy to find out what to do and way harder to have the courage to do it. So this nurturing is what this double down is about. All right? Now, here's what I want you to do. Step one, I want you to take some time every single day to love yourself more. Now, you might think, what the frick does that mean? Well, I'll give you some suggestions. And the first and easiest to do, it might be emotionally difficult, is to go in front of the mirror. Like you're in front of a mirror every day when you get dressed, right? Comb your hair, shave, brush teeth, put on makeup, whatever it is. I challenge you to take 2 minutes and look yourself in the eyes and say, I love you. I love you. And if you need to think of reasons, I love you for breathing. I love you for still being in the game. I love you for doing the best you can. I love you for fixing that difficult situation. I love you for providing well for those that depend on you. And you can have all kinds of reasons that are true, that are not BS. So your first step is to start to love yourself more. Loving yourself is a form of worship of God. God created us, however you view the divine to be. God created us with love, with intention, on purpose, even with all of our flaws, character flaws, emotional flaws. I wear hearing aids. I've got mild, pretty severe, actually, hearing loss. I've got vision that's terrible. I wear some special, cool kind of contacts because I have keratoconus. And so my eyes and ears don't work very well, and that's terrible for a recording artist, right? And so, and I have, I use a cane now because I've got problems in my back from the years of martial arts. I don't care. I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. Not in an arrogant way. I'm not talking about indulgence, self-indulgence, or arrogance. I'm talking about respecting and honoring the vehicle that God has given me or you to walk through this life with. And if there's something you don't like about it, like me when I was overweight, then fix it. But you can love yourself today exactly as you are, and love yourself enough to take care of your body. Love yourself enough to get good at what you do. Love yourself enough to be kind to yourself. Often people speak to themselves in internal dialogue or even out loud in terrible language, ways they wouldn't allow anyone, to speak to one of their friends. Why do we do that? So the first piece of nurturing that I'm asking you to consider is loving yourself. Take the time. Put your own mask on first. I hear this bullshit all the time about, I have too many kids, I have too much to do, I don't have time for self-care, and all you're doing is killing yourself on purpose, willingly. It's stupid. It's stupid and it's wrong, and I'll tell you why it's stupid. Because then what you offer to your spouse or your kids or your friends or your business partners is half-assed. I'm going to show up as a martyr, half-baked, because I'm not taking time to take care of me. So I'm not all here. I'm not focused. I'm not taken care of. Here I am, best I got. Baloney. Nonsense. Take time to create yourself. Take care of yourself. If you want to know how to do that, here's a book, Living with Purpose and Power. It's about how to create yourself, fill your own cup, and be the very best version of yourself every day. Why? Because you can. Because you're worth it. Your worth is infinite. Your identity is divine. But if I show up half-baked every day, not liking myself, maybe even hating myself, not caring for myself, not getting enough sleep, or taking care of my spirit or my body, I'm not in my best shape and I can't even perform. Why would we do that? So this nurturing is that. Okay? So there's another thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and that is this. It's consistency. Okay? And when you talk about a social media strategy, sometimes you hear the phrase consistency trumps content. And what that means is showing up regularly all the time is sometimes more important than having just outrageously killer content every time, because people get used to you. They come to depend on you. They know your podcasts are going to be here, or you're going to have a daily video about whatever. Okay? So consistency in several things. Consistency, first of all, in loving yourself. Like do that love yourself thing every day, and maybe 2 or 3 times a day. I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, even if it makes you laugh. In that book, Living with Purpose and Power, I teach you how to create a daily creation process that will blow your mind and put you on an Olympic level, prepared level every single day, if you'll do it. Okay? Another piece so consistency is not only self-care, but if you've got a business that you're trying to grow. Like I'm a coach. I help people write books. I help people create their own truth documents, personal truth documents. And I do lots of other things. I help businesses grow and create big cash. I help people increase their top line and their bottom line and decrease their fixed overhead and costs. And I can do that for any business. Isn't that amazing? But it takes the work. Just like it takes the work taking care of your body, or getting stronger. Growing your business is not a mystery. It's not a secret. The processes of growth, personal growth, business growth are well understood. Get rid of the barriers and add things that are leverageable that create growth. Identifying those and putting processes in place to make them happen, none of that's a mystery. And people don't do it anyway. So nurturing includes your body. It includes your spirit, it includes your attitude and intention, and it includes your business. If you're not making money, the one you want, like if I define a living as $100,000 US. Less than that, you got to have 2 incomes, or you better not be living in an expensive place, California or New York or, someplace like that, because it's difficult. And whether it's 90 or 110 or something, we can argue about that. But I just use that as a threshold. If you're not making that kind of money, let's talk, because you're worth it. You can. And so part of the nurturing is helping people realize their true potential. And what I mean by that is the flipping cash in your bank account. It's easy to say cute things like, step in your greatness or realize your true potential. And if it doesn't turn into cash, it's like, so what? You're still fussed and fretting. So the nurturing includes personal care, loving yourself. It includes showing up in every situation as your best self. It includes growing your business, creating cash, creating service, adding good to the world. All of those things that you yearn to do, that's what this year is about. Now, I'm going to issue you an invitation here. If you're not where you want to be, get a hold of me. There's no excuse unless you don't want to do the work. There's a thing on the screen right here, KellanFlukigerMedia.com. KellanFlukigerMedia.com. Go there. It'll show you the books that I've written and how to get to the podcast. Yeah. But there's also a contact form. So let's talk. If you don't have the money you want, there's no reason except you don't want to do the work. If you don't love yourself, there's no reason except you don't want to do the work. If your relationships suck, there's no reason to stay there unless you don't want to do the work. Literally anything you want can be yours for the taking. So last year was about a number, reaching 300 million people with a message. This year is about nurturing, the method. What are the things that are well known that you need to do or I need to do to get to where we say we want? And how do we get them done? How do we integrate that in our lives? How do we change our attitudes and beliefs about what's possible? Because the truth is anything's possible. But it took me a long time to learn that, because I had a lot of stories about worthiness, about it being out of reach, about it being too late, and about a bunch of other stuff. And it's not true because I'm there. And I can help you get there. And where is there? There is living your ultimate life.
Never hold back and you'll never ask why. Open your heart and this time around.
Right here, right now. Your opportunity for massive growth is right in front of you. Every episode gives you practical tips and practices that will change everything. If you want to know more, go to KellanFlukigerMedia.com. If you want more free tools, go here, YourUltimateLife.ca. Subscribe. Share.
Stand with your heart in the sky and your feet on